Hey, thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Andrew Torchio, and on this episode of the Pangea Health Podcast, I'm here with
Dr. Ashley.
the one and only, my wife, of course, Dr. Ashley Torchio. And the topic for today is we're going to discuss this concept of alive by design, which has really been kind of the spearhead of efforts at Pangea Chiropractic. Our purpose at Pangea Chiropractic is to save lives.
Great.
And how many times, we even have t-shirts plastered that say alive by design. And this concept of that we are alive by design, we are created for a specific purpose that trickles down into the healthcare system because we believe in our family and in our practice that we are created beautifully and wonderfully made by our Creator. And that really means something when it comes to health. So what do you say about that, Doc?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing we have to look at is what does it mean to be alive by design? It means that we were made with a purpose, like you said.
Yeah.
So we were made with intention. We were made to be here to do something. And for us, it's whatever your purpose may be. But I think the only way you can really fulfill your mission, your purpose in life is by living in accordance to how you were designed. And I think that's actually where we have the biggest disruption and the biggest gap is that we know it in our head that we should live in the same realm that we were designed in, but yet we do things that are outside of that regularly.
Yeah, correct. Right. So we were just having a conversation with one of our coaches, and the concept was like, okay, how do we bring our bodies mentally, physically, and spiritually back to the garden? Back to the garden, this concept of, gosh, could you imagine like what it would have been like to be living in the garden as Adam and Eve were. But more importantly, if we just look at the way that we're living our lives, there's so much dysregulation and disruption from, if we only just say physical, like our physical bodies, and we're completely bombarded with all of these like toxins and stress. And we live in the most stressful time, not because we're trying to battle for our life with axes and swords, but because we're just inundated with technology and things. So Ashley, like, what would you say, what is unique about this time that we're living, and what are some fundamentals that we can start living like we were created to live maybe, thousands of years ago? What's the difference? What's the disconnect from today as maybe it was even just 100 years ago?
Okay, I think we have to come to the understanding that we were perfectly and wonderfully made.
There's no accidents with how humans are made.
And I think if we know that we were made to be healthy, which has been proven, like science proves it, this isn't a weird thing to say, like we were made for health. And then I think if we can say that our bodies are smart and not stupid, and however they're reacting to whatever situations it's in is actually the perfect reaction. And then if we can give the body everything that it needs and all the proper building blocks and all the tools and all the things that it truly needs to be healthy, then it's going to express what it's supposed to express, which is like true health.
True health. Okay, so let's break that back down.
Yeah.
So we were designed to be healthy. Healthy is normal. Sickness is not.
Yeah, that's our default.
This is like the first premise. Okay, and that is perfectly in alignment with the alive by design concept. So let's play in that for just a second. How many people do you think believe that they were designed to be healthy?
I think when people truly think about it, like deep down think about it, like when I pull rooms, if I'm giving a talk and if I even present this topic, if I have people raise their hand, pretty much every single person in the room raises their hand that they actually believe that they were made for health.
I love that. Now, how many people are actually expressing health?
That's a different story.
That's a different story, right?
But with that being said, I think as a society, we actually need to know what we're going up against. And I know spiritually, I know biblically that it says we're not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, and darkness. And that's true, but we also have to know that like all of that power and principalities are also influencing our world. You and I are trying to bring heaven onto earth. But also there's other humans that are trying to bring hell onto earth. So because of that, we have to look at all of the biggest things that contribute to our health and know that they've been hijacked.
So if we believe,
you're
if
at
a
work.
listener believes that we were designed to be healthy and health is normal, sickness is not.
Correct.
If you can raise your hand and agree to that, then the next step is what are the things of this world that are pulling health away from us or robbing us of our health? And then the follow up to that is media, is society, is even the Western healthcare model, are those things motivating and stimulating and preaching and teaching true health, or are we covering something up?
Yeah. I mean, you already know as you ask the question.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, even if you're listening, you know that too. The cool part about living in today is actually, I think we're living with more truth out in the forefront, and people don't really want to stifle it anymore. I think for a long time, truth was stifled. Christianity was stifled. True solutions. That's the cool part about any time that evil brings something onto this earth. I think God always gives us a solution.
Yeah.
And so I think solutions are coming to the forefront. So the cool part about right now is I think there's actually solutions all around us.
Yeah, I agree. So if we believe that we're designed to be healthy, health is normal, sickness is not, and we're not expressing our fullest potential of health, I love what you said, is that God doesn't make mistakes. So the solution to recover, heal, prosper again is available to us. It's just, are we looking in the right places?
That's fair.
Are we looking in the right places?
What if we broke it down simplistically? Like let's say we take one example, which is just water.
Yeah.
So water in its purest form, like hydrogen, oxygen, fantastic. But let's look and see what's been added to it. Well, we've added chlorine to it because we have so many people that are drinking it, which is great to give people clean drinking water, but we have to look at what chlorine does. What does chlorine do?
Kills things.
Kills things, kills bacteria.
Yeah.
We are a ton of bacteria in our body. So every time we drink water, we're killing the bacteria.
We have more bacteria in and on us than we do human cells.
Yeah, so we're more
body.
Bacteria than we are cells.
Kind of, yeah.
So we're drinking that, and now they added fluoride. What does fluoride do to a human?
It's a neurotoxin.
Neurotoxin decreases IQ. There's multiple different things that it does, especially when you ingest it.
Yeah.
And then you have to look at all the stuff that we're putting into our water to disposing of it. People are dumping pills down the toilet, flushing it, and getting rid of it. And when it goes through that treatment process, now we have uppers, we have downers, we have hormones, we have all these things going into our water supply.
Yeah.
Now,
trace amounts of all the medications are finding their way into the majority of America's tap water.
100%.
Yeah.
And so now we're taking it and we're treating it. And when we go and we treat that water isn't living the way it's supposed to be living. It's actually now essentially dead water.
Or water isn't expressing itself.
100%.
Or vibrating
at the frequency
it was, let's say, spring water would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that sick water is what we're consuming, and then that sick water is making us sick. Right. It's not complicated. That's a great analogy and a great way to just allow the listeners, if you take that same analogy or same principle and apply it to every aspect of life,
food,
then all of a sudden you've equipped yourself with tools to make better choices.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. Spiritual health. What do you think robs us of our spiritual health? What are things that rob us of our spiritual health?
Social media.
Yeah.
I think our diet robs us of our spiritual health.
I agree.
Because it changes the way our brain works.
I think our nervous system robs us of.
I think that, our body, the way that it's expressing ourselves is in direct synergy with our spiritual health. So when we block our expression of life as a human, then we're blocking our spiritual expression with our Creator.
I couldn't agree more.
So, wow. Okay, we could go down that rabbit hole for a lot longer. So,
you're like, okay, well.
Number one, our body is smart, not stupid.
Definitely.
Is that what we said?
Yeah.
Number one. Okay. Next, number two. What was the second concept?
No, the first one was we were designed to be healthy.
We were designed to be healthy, so we have to have a hand raise on that. Number two, our body is smart, not stupid. So let's go there for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
My head first jumps to that every single emotion and every single physical thing that we're feeling, whether we're feeling it emotionally or we're feeling it physically, our body is smart, not stupid. So that's telling us something. And we have a choice to make every time we have a bad thought or every time we have a depressive thought or every time we have a pain. Could be a pain in your back, could be a pain in your neck, could be a stomach ache, could be a fever. Those are all perfect expressions of the environment that you're in.
Yeah, those are signals.
Those are signals.
Right?
So go here, break that down.
No, you're right. Those are all signals. So those things aren't bad, but now we are taking our educated mind.
Yeah.
Not our perfect intelligence that God gave us, the stuff that lives in us, not our innate intelligence, meaning the thing that we never have to tell it what to do. If we get cut, the body knows to go and heal it. Like we didn't have to tell it to do it. Yeah. That's innate intelligence. God put that there. We don't have to do anything to control it. But what we have done is we have our educated intelligence and our educated mind. And a lot of times now they live in contradiction to each other. The fever is there, and then the educated mind says, oh, this fever is bad, we should lower it. When the body says, no, this fever is important because we have to boil out the bad bacteria, the bad viruses, all these different things. We have to boil that off to get rid of it. We're living in opposition. The body was smart enough, because it wasn't stupid. It knew that bacteria wasn't supposed to be there. So, hey, that bacteria is not supposed to be there. Let's go. Let's boil this.
How do we defend against that?
Yeah, how do we get rid of this?
Biology doesn't make mistakes.
No.
But when man plays with biology, it confuses this perfect alive by design analogy.
Yep.
And it complicates the outcome.
Yep. The signal's just telling you, hey, look at this, know what's happening.
Yeah.
But also know I'm already taking care of it.
And it sounds so stupid and silly, but I love the fever analogy because I've heard you say this when you're doing family health talks. Raise your hand if you think a fever is good. Raise your hand if you think a fever is bad. And some people raise for the good and some people raise for the bad.
It's across the board.
And the interesting thing is that that's a perfect expression of what your body needs to do innately to create an environment, turn the temperature up so that whatever virus or bacteria your body's dealing with, to make the environment less hospitable for the virus to flourish.
You said it perfectly, the environment. So if we stop talking about ourselves and if we took it to an idea outside of ourselves,
it makes more sense.
Like we're camping, right?
Yeah.
So we go out camping and we run out of water because you didn't pack us enough water.
I always do.
So we come across this stream that's flowing and it's coming from what looks like clean water, but as we go and collect the water, the first thing we'd do is we go back to our camp and we would
boil it. We know that. We've learned that.
Yeah, like we're smart enough to know that part of it once it's outside of our body. But if we put that same, and we boil it to kill bacteria.
Kill bacteria, right? Because you can get sick and die if you drink bad water.
Yeah.
People know that.
They know that. But so if we take that analogy outside of our body and we put it into our body, it's almost like that, but for some reason we've been told over and over and over again that wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my guy moment. When I was 16, we bought a car from an old woman who lived down the road, and we bought this Buick Century for $350. And that was actually cheap back then, but we had a screaming deal, $350. And the check engine light was on, and my brother and I were like, oh, it's probably not that important. So we just, I think I put a picture of like my girlfriend or something over the check engine light to like.
I actually think I've been in your dad's car, and he actually did the exact same thing. I think I drove his car and he put a black piece of tape over the light.
Thanks, Dad. But really, okay, that makes sense, right? The check engine light tells us that something's going on. It doesn't tell us what to do. It says, hey, investigate and look. But the difference between a car and the body is self-regulating and self-healing. A car is not, right? So you can only avoid warning signs for so long before the system breaks down.
Yeah. Take it deeper. What if we're talking about cancer? Because sometimes people don't want to go deeper, and knowing that cancer is an expression of health in a certain facet. So
yeah, but also what I know is like every single one of us has cancer right now.
100%.
Our body's constantly fighting off cancer. So there's not a single human on planet Earth that isn't battling cancer. It's,
But wait, why do you and I have cancer?
Because we live in a toxic world, and our body's constantly trying to regulate and shift us back towards homeostasis. And when our body gets out of balance, then these cells start changing and shifting, and the body can't tag them and attack them and break them down, so then they proliferate.
Yeah, and our body has cancer cells because our body's adapting to the stressors and the toxins that we're putting into it.
Yeah.
So as our body adapts, those cells change, but then we have other cells in our body that are smart enough to come along and be like, that's
I
not
don't like
right.
you.
Let's get rid of you. Let's break you up and then eat you to get rid of it. And so,
God.
yeah.
Yeah. So the body is the body is so smart, right? I mean, I read a study one time that said, we know more about the oceans than we do about what's happening in the brain, and that just blows my mind. I don't know if it's correct or not. But as soon as we think that we know better than what our body is doing, we can get in a lot of trouble. And I'm not saying that you should live your whole life in excruciating pain and breakdown. Some warning signs need attention, but also I think that it's important to note that how many times we just ignore the warning sign and then we just keep charging forward, which is why we're living in the sickest developed nation in the world, because we've covered up the warning signs that our body's telling us with things like drugs and surgery, and that's made America the sickest developed country in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful. And then our kids, I'm like, oh my goodness. So like for listeners, like these are the conversations that we have with our 7 and 4-year-old, which is really fun. I encourage you to have these conversations with your kids if you have them.
The kids even better because they haven't been
Programmed.
educated into stupidity. They actually
Can critically think.
Yeah, because they don't have that amount of education to circumvent things that they already see in their common sense of what's happening. They're actually so much more intelligent than most adults because of their ability to think about what's happening.
Yeah, they just ask really unique questions that make you think about how you're responding to it.
Probably because the question is simple, and there's like so much. It's like so profound when it's that simple.
Yeah, we think that simple's bad, and like simple a lot of times is just what it is.
Yeah.
When it's like we teach in our chiropractic clinic that when the nervous system is out of balance, it creates dysfunction in the body. And the longer it stays out of balance or misaligned or the nervous system irritated, the more it proliferates. And people come in all the time and they're like, could it be that simple? And I'm like, no, it is that simple.
Well, that's the third part of it, right? Is that the body can heal when you give it everything
that it
needs.
Yeah.
Like that's that third part. Well, the whole Alive by Design concept and the different parts that we broke apart there. When someone comes to see you and they lay on a table, as chiropractors, especially chiropractors in our office, we believe that healing comes from above, down, inside out.
It's an inside job.
What does that mean to you? Yeah, it's an inside. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. It's that our body has everything that it needs. It was created with everything that it needs. And when we have an inside out approach to healing and we recognize that the body was created wonderfully, that the body is smart, not stupid, when we understand these concepts, then we have faith and confidence in that our body is more than capable of healing from virtually anything. I mean, it's doing things on a daily basis that you don't even know is happening subconsciously. So healing's an inside out job. It's not an outside in job. So what does that mean for me? It's like, well, first, if we know where we came from, that's the above. If we know where we came from, that opens up the floodgates for what's possible in our body. So healing comes from above, outside of this physical space, but above from a higher power in it, and it works down inside out us and expresses itself through our central nervous system on the inside, and then we get to express it outside. Was that complicated how I explained that?
I don't think so. I mean, if you think above down, are you thinking God to human?
Well, I'm thinking above.
Are you talking brain to nervous system?
Well, you can think brain to nervous system because every cell, tissue, and organ in your body is getting signals from your brain. I mean, that's a fact. Nobody can debate that. Our brain is our central processing unit. So the brain tells the body and every cell what to do. So you could start at the brain, or if you're like me, you could start even higher. You could be like, I believe that everything that's happening right now and I'm expressing in this physical realm is powered and fueled by something greater above my sense of of self or being. So I have to go to the next level because I don't know what's above that.
I don't know what's above that either.
So there is a disconnect for some folks that don't know why they're created, and you know, nothing against, but like some people think we climbed out of a single cell climbed out of a bog somewhere and morphed into this human biology of 76 trillion cells. That's a different type of thought process than, we were beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God. That's a different type of person. And if you know where you came from and you know you have a purpose and you are alive and created for a specific reason and purpose by something bigger than you, that opens up a whole new world of healing.
Yeah.
And it gives you, that's we see these miracles happen every single day in practice. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about the single cell.
I mean, that's just an interesting thought process.
It's an interesting theory.
But if we really go back to Alive by Design, the most important element there is, I think, is that the listeners, that we know that we were created for a specific purpose. And this world is toxic. The food that we eat, the way that we move, the technology, the stress, we have lots of stress today that we didn't have 100 years ago, but some of the stress we had 100 years ago is not there today. So if we recognize that the way that we're living right now is stressful on a lot of different fronts and chemically stressful, then we can start to pick these things apart, and we can say, if I'm alive by design, how can I eliminate those things that I can eliminate to express myself better?
Well, then you have to ask, you're like, how am I working against the design? Am I working against the design, or am I working with the design?
Sure.
Am I suppressing the design, or am I supporting the design?
Yeah.
I was like, so I think that is really important to go through the water exercise, to go through the food exercise. And then you said the same thing, the amount of stress. I think that one's really important. As you were speaking, my mind started wandering about like rest. And I was like, I was thinking about creation and everything as you were speaking. I was like, oh yeah, creation. And then God made all these things in 6 days. And the seventh day you rested. And then you're talking about how stressful life is. And you're talking about going along. And I was like, wow, in my own life, I feel like, where am I the most incongruent as far as my design and not living with my design? I was like, I don't take enough time for rest. And as you were speaking about it, I was like, that's where I'm not living incongruency with like living by design. I'm actually living as I'm like trying to swim upstream of how I was created, which was to rest.
Well, yeah. So just on the basic level, we have to move within our design.
Yeah.
And most people are not moving. We heard today someone was speaking and said, we don't have an obesity problem. We have a muscular inactivity. I mean, that's not what she said.
No, she said we had a muscular deficiency.
Yeah, we don't have an obesity problem. We have a movement deficiency or muscular deficiency.
That's what she said.
So, number one, are we moving within the way our body was designed to move? Run, jump, climb, pull, push, all these things. And most people are not doing those on a regular basis. And then we have to eat. So we were designed to eat, consume foods. And are we eating the right foods that fuel our biology? Most of the time it's no.
And then with that, we were designed to eat in community. Like we were designed to be around people and be in community. And most of us are eating in the car, on the run, standing up, just to like, even if you're eating healthy, you eat healthy because you're trying to like fuel yourself, right? Yeah. And so we eat healthy, we're trying to fuel ourselves, and yet we're not slowing down to even appreciate what we have.
Yeah, that's why we go out to pasture with the kids and lay down in the grass and graze together.
Well, there's something to it.
We should start calling eating going to pasture. And then think, okay? We have to armor up our brain, because the way that we think, you tell people all the time, 90% of the thoughts that you had today are the same ones you had yesterday, and 80% of the thoughts you have are negative thoughts. So we have to armor up the way that we think. And then lastly, what you just ended on is we have to rest. We have to recover.
Yep. I only say that because that's my own personal.
No, but everybody has to recover. I mean, bad things happen when you don't get sleep.
Agreed.
That's when the body heals. So, wow, we covered a lot of ground. We could
could go
go
deeper,
hours
but-
on any one of those concepts. But for our listeners, thank you for listening. We broke down this concept that we live by, and is that we are alive by design. And we believe that you are alive by design too.
Yes, we do.
And it's our mission and purpose to help folks just like you, and we're learning along the way. So thanks for joining us on this episode of the Pangea Health Podcast.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you next time.